Hello.
There you are.
There we
Hi.
are.
I think it had two links on it. One was Google Meets, and then down further, if I scrolled, was Zoom.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay. Have you been sitting there waiting for me?
I made my drink while I was waiting for you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What'd you make?
I don't remember the name of this thing that I based this on, but the recipe is 4 parts of tequila and ginger ale with a lime wedge. And I wanted to use the cider that I got, which is a Marionberry cider. So I used 2 parts of tequila and the
And
Marionberry cider.
is that two town cider?
Yes.
That stuff's really yummy.
Yeah. It's good.
Now that my dog hears me talking, he's gonna whine. So let me just grab him a bone. Now he's good.
Nice.
How was your last week?
I don't know. It's been okay. I got a flu shot, so I had a bit of flu-ness on Friday. But
Not too bad though.
yeah, I had some body aches and I felt really crappy on Friday and like Saturday morning. But then I started to feel better and did work.
Oh, good. Good.
How are you? Are you calmed down?
I'm okay. I don't know. Hey, now I have to drive Amber to work
Oh my God.
because she doesn't have a car.
Oh no.
And she works in Bloomington, so it's like an hour out of my day.
Oh my God.
Way.
Terrible.
And there's a used car shortage.
Oh, wow.
You know this?
No.
Yeah.
Tell me about your beverage that you made.
Oh my gosh, I'm such an easy lady. It's literally vodka and my SodaStream soda with a few drops of raspberry flavoring.
Nice. That's
That's
awesome.
just, yep, that's all.
I love it. I was just like, I don't know how much of this to put in here. I don't know how much 2 parts is. I'm just going to go until I'm done.
Until I fill my glass.
I'm just going to pour in some and then see how it goes.
Tequila's brave. Every time I've had tequila, the sugar just knocks me out the next day.
Yeah? Oh, well, I don't know if I've experienced that. It's possible I may have. As my face turns red.
Right, and you get your red chest and
Yeah, it's super attractive.
that's not why we drink.
No, and I forgot to put any kind of makeup on, so you're getting like really, there we go, really raw this episode.
Well, you look beautiful, so I wouldn't even worry about it.
Thank you.
Actually,
Yes.
one of my really good friends, Dwayne, who you probably met at the wedding, his birthday was last Tuesday when all this craziness happened. So we decided we were going to take 3 days and celebrate his birthday.
Nice.
So Saturday, Sunday, and then later tonight, we're going to go out for a late dinner.
Cool.
And maybe my husband will be able to join us.
Because he's still plowing snow.
Now he's just, he's still trying to get all those irrigation systems blown out.
Oh.
Because we had such early snow. And they're broken pieces like crazy, so it's taking him longer.
Oh my God.
We gotta fix stuff.
Oh. Wow. This is, yeah, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. We have a very small amount of irrigation in our yard. And it's not fun.
Is it above ground or underground?
It's a little of both.
Yeah. We don't have any, but we don't really have a yard, so it's fine. We just have a massive wall now.
Yeah, I love the wall. Good job on the wall.
Thank you. It's like our monolith of brick. It's like, what is it, 17 feet by 23 feet?
Wow. it's going to be really nice and toasty on that sidewalk now.
You think so?
Yeah, you built a really great heat sink right there. Everything you plant on top of it is going to be super warm.
Everything, well, yeah, but it's always been that way.
Well, yeah, because you got a house there too. So there's like the street and the wall and the house, and everything is facing like the south, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be super toasty back there.
Sweet.
Get some oranges.
Yeah, I moved my mom's peonies over there.
Nice.
Because they've always been south facing, so they'll be fine.
That'll be nice.
There. And then, yeah, but I think we're gonna do, we're hoping next year that we can do a rooftop vegetable garden.
Ooh, nice. What vegetables?
Well, I don't know yet. I haven't gotten that far yet.
Let me know if you need any seeds.
I will, because I'm not really sure. I mean, we have so little stuff that we can actually plant year round here. So that's why I'm like, not gonna try to like do anything up on that wall. I'll just do stuff that kind of shades the shed, blocks the house from the street, bigger, 5-6 foot stuff up there. So it looks a little bit more like woods on the wall.
Cool.
And then I'll do like a little perennial garden with some of my mom's bulbs and stuff. The front part of the shed that was north facing or east facing. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know all about the ornamentals, and I don't know anything about ornamentals. I know a little bit about vegetables and fruit trees.
We had talked about a fruit tree, but I don't know.
Well, a lot of people complain about fallen fruit, and like they think they have to prune it, and like it's supposedly all this work. And there are some pest issues depending on what you choose. But I find it really rewarding.
Yes.
Yeah. And we are now eating quince for dessert after dinner every day, because we got a bunch of quince off of our little tiny quince trees.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And you guys just can like crazy.
Yeah, well, we didn't do as much of that this year because we still have applesauce from last year, and it's gonna last pretty much all year.
So when COVID shuts everything down except the post office, we will gladly take some of your applesauce because we have nothing.
Fruit leather travels well.
That works too.
Nice.
Or maybe we'll just have to take a trip. Yeah. And then Ryan can offer whatever services you might need of his or myself, if you need some therapy or something, we can do some trading.
Awesome. Trading.
We can barter.
I love bartering.
I know.
I just watched the Last Week Tonight with John Oliver about asylum and how messed up it is.
Like Goffman's book, or what was it? What was it about? I didn't see it.
Just how screwed up the asylum system is here in the United States. And how like they're making asylum seekers wait in Mexico before their trials. And like they're just kicking them out randomly because of COVID and Title 42 or something.
I heard it. Actually heard a story. This was it last night on NPR. That was a couple from Nicaragua who were seeking asylum, and literally this man had written like all of the accusations against the Nicaraguan government in a notebook that he had with him. And no one ever looked at the notebook when he came here. Border Patrol picked him up and sent him back with his backpack and the notebook.
Oh.
Which was in the cargo hold.
Oh
so
my
he
God.
couldn't even like get at his notebook.
Oh my God.
Accusing the government of all of these things with like names of the perpetrators even.
Wow. See, that it's just such a hot mess. It's such a hot mess. Like, I don't know. I can't stand it.
Well, and I'll be the first to say that Obama definitely deported a lot of undocumented folks, but at least there was a rhyme,
Yeah.
you know, and kind of like there was a policy about who went back versus who got to stay. And it just feels like right now that it's just fake COVID. Like because of COVID, we're not letting you in.
Yeah. It's a mess.
I'm so sad.
This is gonna be the big sigh episode. I've done 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm. And this is gonna be the big sigh one, huh? Because we're gonna talk about all that shitty stuff.
All the shitty stuff. Like, I started out with trying to stay at peace.
Yeah.
And then I just I talked with Erica about, I don't remember. It was just like mindfulness. There was some misogyny talk. You know, we talked about that a little bit. And we talked about some woman-owned businesses that we love. And that was nice. But I was wondering if you would be okay with talking about criminal justice.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take a sip.
Take a sip. Yes. Tell me what you want. What do you want to talk about? How fucked up it is?
How fucked up it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really fucked up, right? But I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you work with foster kids or?
Oh, no. I work with individuals charged with person felonies.
Okay.
So my first job was at a group home for teenage boys that were either charged with delinquencies, coming out of residential facilities, some foster care kids, juvenile sex offenders. That was my first introduction into kind of the criminal justice arena.
Yeah.
And then I did, and then I did children's mental health for a while with kids who were aged 5 to 11.
Oh
so really it was working with their parents who were also mentally ill.
Oh man. Wow.
That was really challenging. We've moved in our teams we've moved to attorney teams, the social workers in our office have, so it's all based on the offenses that they're charged with.
Okay.
And because I've been here forever at the public defender's office, I get the most serious offenses.
Oh.
So my clients are charged with murder,
Wow.
criminal sexual conduct, aggravated assaults, aggravated robberies, lots of gun charges. Yeah, those are my clients.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're the social worker involved with cases. So you're trying to help defendants.
Yeah, so some of the things that we do just kind of depends on the case. So the majority of our clients are looking at long prison commits. They're not looking at probation. So sometimes if all of the cards align and we can get clients out of custody so that they can go to treatment, get sober, because most of our clients have lots of chemical health issues. If we can try and get them into housing, try and get them kind of moving on a path towards amenability, we can get them probation. So then they don't have to go to prison. That doesn't happen very often. But then it's also finding services for clients that that they've never had, right? I have a lot, like I said, a lot of chemically dependent, really significantly mentally ill clients who have never really had medication or had qualified for group home care before or that kind of stuff. So we kind of try to do that as well. But again, with my clients, that's really hard because the majority of them staying in custody for their charge till their case resolves because they don't have the means to bail out. The cash bail system just across the country, but in Minnesota too, is just horrible.
Huh.
If you don't have money or collateral, you don't get out of custody. You don't get out of prison or out of jail.
Wow. That sounds really hard to deal with.
It is. My clients are pretty hopeless most of the time. And sometimes I just end up being somebody who listens so that they can be present and thoughtful while their cases work through the process.
Wow.
You know, sometimes that's just what they need. Our attorneys have high caseloads. They do their best to meet with their clients when they can, but a lot of times if they don't have any really good legal arguments to make, there's no reason for their attorney to be meeting with them.
Wow.
So I'll do that too.
Huh. Well, you're a saint. that just.
It's an interesting job for sure. But I mean, they're just people. I mean, they have just like these amazing stories. Like when I think about the resiliency of a lot of these guys, I'm just like, wow. Like I can't even imagine. You know, they're guys that have like just kind of bounced from one system to another. They don't have any kind of stability. You know, and I just kind of think like if I didn't have stable parents and like a village around me, a family, you're just kind of like one step away from that, really.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you filled out that little funny thing on Facebook today about your senior year. I filled it out yesterday about my senior year. And I did not realize. I mean, I guess I kind of knew about your life before we became friends,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't realize, like, it seems as though you may have been 1 or 2 steps away.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh, for sure. Like I skipped my entire 9th grade year of high school.
Your 9th grade year?
Yeah, and then, you know, and then 12th grade, I was so behind and I was still doing crazy stuff, but school was a little bit more important, but I didn't graduate on time.
Wow.
I didn't graduate till after I completed summer school.
You went from like graduating late and smoking pot in the parking lot frequently to being this amazing social worker who works with some of society's most downtrodden.
Yeah, most more definitely marginalized, right? Nobody gives a crap about them.
Oh, man.
With a master's degree.
Yes, I remember the party. It was good.
It was a pretty fun party.
It was fun, yeah. So,
yeah.
Where were you when the George Floyd riots started?
Well, I was at home because we had already kind of locked down, right? Because for COVID, so I wasn't in the office at all. I was at home. There was a lot of, so because I work for a criminal defense law firm, and we hate Mike Freeman, who is the county attorney for Hennepin County, that brought those crappy 3rd-degree charges against him before Keith Ellison took the case over. I actually know quite a bit about this case. And there was like, I have actually a really good friend from college who lives out in Virginia, and she went to Augsburg with me. She's a born and bred Minneapolis girl. And she texted me and she's like, oh my God, they dismissed charges. And I'm like, calm down. They just dismissed the 3rd-degree charge, which Freeman was never going to get to stick anyway. That, like, there was so much banter on like all of kind of the public defense Facebook pages and like everywhere. Like, why would you even charge 3rd degree? Because he didn't endanger the lives of anyone else, just Mr. Floyd's. and that's an element of third degree.
Okay.
So, so it's been a very interesting time. I am so very hopeful that we do not lose the momentum, because this is every day. Like, my clients tell me stories about how the police treat them. I watch them on the stand when they testify, thinking that they are just above reproach.
Mm.
And it's pretty frustrating.
In a lot of ways they are, right? I mean, like, for police to be accused or charged with anything, they have to, like, really, really screw up.
Well, yeah, there's that. It's a higher level of culpability than, I'm going to set you down. Apparently my dog has to go potty. And he's 11, so we don't make him wait too long.
I wouldn't.
No, clean that up. Yeah, it's nice to see that there's more momentum than Jamar Clark. And I mean, it's even, I think, surpassed the level of outrage that with Justine Diamond when she was murdered. And she was the white woman. She was the white woman who was killed by the black police officer.
Oh. I don't remember that story.
That was maybe 2 years ago. And what's interesting is the difference between the payout that the city of Minneapolis paid for her death versus what they paid for Jamar Clark. It was like 10 times as much.
Wow. That.
And then we have Philando Castile.
Uh-huh.
You remember that one? Did you remember hearing about that one?
I remember him. Wow.
We've had a few, and I think that it was the right time because we were all just kind of sitting around bored with nothing to do because of COVID. And so people were glued to their Facebook pages. They were glued to the news anyway.
As you know, people in Portland have been protesting every single day.
Yep.
And I have told family and friends across the country, because they have all asked, what is going on in Portland? What is wrong with you people? That when we moved here, we read somewhere that in Portland, protesting is a very common, frequent, normal thing to do. So, like, they said, move to Portland, pick your issue and start protesting, because
nice.
Yeah. Like, the naked bike ride that happens every year, that's a protest.
I did not know that.
Yes. It's a protest for anything you want it to be.
It's just you pick your issue and you do it?
You just paint it on your body and you do it, yeah.
Awesome. One time when the intercom system didn't work, so like when you go into the jail, this is really interesting. So in our jail in Hennepin County, you see a person when you first check in, where you give them your badge and they give you all the paperwork and then they let you into the elevators. And you don't see another person except your client until you go back down. So you like go up on an elevator and there's a series of buttons that you push and doors that unlock that you go into. The door lock system was not working on one of the floors. It's still not. It hasn't been for like 8 or 9 months now.
What?
Yeah, so you just kind of like stand at the camera and go.
Oh my
I'm ready to go. You know, fortunately they know that you're ready to go though, because you push a button in the interview room and then they come and get the client. And so the deputies do know that, okay, you're done with your interview. But I swear, I stood there for like 15 minutes and I like got out my computer and I started like Skyping the guy in charge of the whole thing. And I'm like, Sergeant, I think I'm stuck on the 3rd floor. Can you help me out?
Oh my goodness.
He's like, yep, I got you taken care of. Somebody should be there in a second.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
There was just no people. They're just like,
Wow.
mm-hmm.
This is just,
Fascinating, right?
it's fascinating because nobody knows about this stuff. I don't know about this stuff.
Nope, it's like this weird, and inside these little, I don't know, they're probably 4x6 rooms where we can meet with our clients. There's cameras, but there's no audio. But there's like this big red panic button that you can push.
Okay.
And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I've never used one. I don't even sit by it. I move my chair, like I position my chair so that we're like in a good open dialogue kind of space. I move the table so that we're not like across the table, when I meet with my clients. I've never even thought that I might need a panic button.
As a social worker, I would hope that you wouldn't. I mean, you're there to help. Why would anyone?
I was, one client did freak me out once. It was very tall and he walked in. I was kind of like, and I knew nothing about the client because the attorney just made a referral and said, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with this guy, but he's a little bit scary and I don't know. So go check it out and see, go talk to him.
He's a little bit scary.
It was a little bit scary. I don't know. Go talk to him. Okay. So I go in, start talking to him. All of a sudden, he starts telling me about how in his charge was a prohibited person with a firearm. So he had been previously convicted of a felony that prevented him from being in possession of any other firearms, a lifetime ban. And he started telling me about how he knew that the FBI set him up because they were all wearing the same shoes. Who was wearing the same shoes? And he was like, all the police that came in and all the people in the building were wearing the same shoes. So I know that they, so then So I was kind of like, yep, I think you might be a little delusional. And I challenged him just a little bit, and he got like kind of big and in my face. And of course, I didn't sit next to the panic button, because why would I?
Of course not.
So, I just joined him in his delusion. Because, it's okay. I have the answers I need. Yes, we need to do a competency evaluation on this feller, because he's delusional.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That's all I needed to know. So, I talked to him and I said, well, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. We'll figure this out. And then turns out he likely had a substance-induced psychosis with underlying schizophrenia, but it was definitely heightened by his substance use. Got him into treatment, got him on meds. Randomly, about 8 months later, I ran into him in the hallway. And he comes up to me and he goes, Kendra, and he gives me like this big hug. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it took me a minute to recognize who he was. And he was like, thank you so much for getting me into treatment and getting me sober. I'm in such a better place now.
Wow. Just imagine if you had pushed the panic button, what would have happened to him?
Right. And the relationship that I had with him. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Bad news bears. I have one other really good story. So he was one of my first clients, actually, when I started. So this was, like 7.5 years ago. African-American gentleman, very mentally ill, lower IQ. He had, I don't know, like 10 felonies on his record. He'd been in prison more than he'd been out.
Wow.
Pretty significant substance use disorder. Picked up an aggravated robbery charge. but because he pretended to have a gun, it's a felony.
Ugh.
So the attorney and I really are just kind of trying to buy time for this guy. So we do we do a competency evaluation. We have a contested competency. So like it goes on for like a year where we just kind of litigate a bunch of stuff because we had a really crappy judge and a really crappy prosecutor who just really didn't care about this guy's story. I mean, he had at least 2 traumatic brain injuries. Super low IQ, substance use, but just the sweetest guy. Loved to rap. Really talented writer. He wrote a lot of poetry. And and so we finally got a new judge and a new prosecutor after about a year and a half because, you know, stuff shifts around. And the prosecutor was like, sure, I'll let him out on conditional release. So we got him out to treatment. He gets to treatment. They tell him he has to go to the hospital to get his meds. He doesn't know how to get there. So he doesn't go back.
Oh.
Picks up 3 more felony charges.
Oh my God.
So now he comes back and he's got 3 new felony charges. It's a different attorney because it's like drugs. But because he's already got so many criminal history points, because he's already got so many convictions, it's a prison commit on something that would normally be probation for you or I without the criminal history. And then, so we finagle his release to treatment again. He's there for quite a while, but then the program changes how they have to take their medication and they have to take it in the morning and he refuses, so they kick him out because he liked to take his medication at night. So he was like putting it in his room and not taking it, which is a violation. And so they kick him out. So then he's gone again. Meanwhile, he gets into some kind of an altercation with another homeless guy. They get into a fight. He ends up in the hospital. This guy ends up in the hospital. He uses somebody else's name in the hospital because he knows he has a warrant out on his cases. So now I have this case, and I think we have like 9 pending cases that haven't been, right? Because this whole time he hasn't been sentenced on anything or pled to anything. So now we bust out the big guns and we get we get him to do a neuropsych evaluation to just find, you know, so we can have something to say, this guy is like, come on, like there's no way you can expect this guy to function outside of prison because this is how he functions. His mom, sweetest lady, right? She had to participate in the neuropsych. She couldn't get there. I literally had to go pick her up and bring her there. Because she didn't function either.
Oh my God.
And then I'm talking to my client and I find out he's never washed clothes before. Like he's just washed his clothes in the sink. He's never used a washer or dryer. He knows how to like microwave and boil food, but couldn't possibly like cook a meal. You know, so I just find out all of these things that he just has never done. So I'm not really sure how we expect him to like function in any kind of a life that, you know, anything remotely what's normal for us, right? Because he lived in pretty abject poverty his entire life. Well, we ended up getting a pretty good resolution. He did go to DOC, but he had 7 felonies. He had like 700 and some days credit because he also had really bad migraines. Really, really bad migraines. So he preferred the jail over DOC because they managed the lights and different things for him better in the jail. So he ended up spending 700 and some days over the course of like that first case that I got. So that was that's like 4 years?
Wow.
2 years? 2 years? 2 years in custody.
Right.
And he ended up with basically 18 months that he would have to serve in DOC.
Department of Corrections.
Yes, in prison.
Wow.
On like 8 felony charges.
Wow.
One that was a 60-month commit, but because he had so much credit.
Wow.
Right. And then, yeah. So then, here's the best part. So then I'm touring a treatment program that I really wanted him to go to in the beginning, but we couldn't get him into it. So I'm touring this place, and I'm walking to my car, and all of a sudden I hear my name. I turn around, and there he is.
Wow.
I have never seen him look that good.
Oh my God.
And when he was in Stillwater, they were doing a talent show. And so myself and two of the attorneys that he had went to this talent show to see him perform his poetry, his spoken word, as he called and invited us. And so he was there, and he hasn't come back up.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's a fun story. He's my favorite story because that was like such a long journey.
Yeah.
It's like 2.5 years, 3 years to get him there. Yeah, I mean, I'm like at this interesting place because I have seen so many folks, and like I think here's probably a good illustration. So I had like a 68-year-old client who was basically, Minneapolis police have like this top 100 nuisance crime. They have like a list of folks who just continually do these like homeless crimes, we call them, right? Where it's like trespassing, it's loitering, it's panhandling, all of these things, right? So and he's been drinking for, I don't know, 50 years, right? He's like this, he drinks. Like, I guess if I were 60 years old and that were my life, I'd drink too.
That's not my life, and I'm drinking right now.
Right? But,
yeah.
You're not on the
like
top
that.
100 list of nuisance crime committers.
No.
So his PO is like, so he picks up like a trespassing because he's not supposed to be at this liquor store because he harasses the patrons, asking him for money so he can go buy alcohol. So they want him to go to prison, and he could because he could go for like 3 years because he's got so many offenses. And then they're like, well, and then we'll put him on probation, but then he needs to do a Rule 25 and stay sober. I'm like, you're joking, right? Like, he drinks for a reason. And no amount of therapy is going to work for him probably right now because, he's in his 60s, and is it even humane to ask him to stay sober? And ended up negotiating with his PO that he would go out to a sober house, which was away from Minneapolis. It was really a wet house where he could drink and he could, whatever. He just had to come back and But he would be out of the Minneapolis police officer's hair for 6 months. So if he went to this house, this sober housing, for 6 months, he would not, in execution, like that would be it. He wouldn't be on probation afterwards. He wouldn't be required to do a Rule 25 or treatment or anything else. He would just get out of the hair for 6 months. That felt like a really good outcome for me.
Yeah.
And then he did actually call me, and we got him set up with an elderly waiver and group residential housing voucher so that he had somewhere to live. And we got him into a wet house, and and as far as I know, he's still there.
Wow. Fascinating.
And Minneapolis' top 100.
Wow. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a wet house.
Oh, they're not very common, and there's not very many of them.
Right.
And like if you're on probation, you can't.
Okay. Yeah.
But I felt like a win because, the client got what he needed.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes what I think is best for the client doesn't really matter because I work for them anyway.
Huh.
So I can offer them things, but sometimes they don't want to do that. And that's okay, they don't have to.
Wow. Fascinating.
Mm-hmm. So I've had plenty of clients where I'm like, hey, let's have a plan A and a plan B. Plan A is you take this case to trial. Plan B is if you lose, here's what we do. And then sometimes we can make plan B sound good enough that they might just be willing to shoot for plan B, and the judge would be happier if they didn't have to go through a trial to give them plan B.
Cool. Man. So you think that you're hopeful that the momentum will continue?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. I know that there's just, it's a lot deeper and a lot very, very difficult for, I think, people who live in Minneapolis too, because they're seeing a lack of police presence because so many of them have gone on leave or left. There's a lot of open police positions just because the anti-police sentiment. I don't know that I'd want to work in that environment either.
Right. Wow. Well, this is obviously a really big topic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that I got us into it, but
well, you know, we can always have a part 2 if it's exciting for people. We can always, you know.
Well, it's exciting for me.
Yeah, we can.
This is important. Like, people are in the streets every day about this, and you know, like, attached to so many people's names right now.
It's a tipping point.
It is, and I'm really hoping that we tip instead of that
we get it over. I know. I am too. It's kind of it's actually interesting because I think about, like, I try to articulate the injustices that I see on a daily basis with my African American clients. And you know, every once in a while I will get a Caucasian client and their treatment is very different. Wow. You don't, you know, and their circumstances are different too, right? Like, I mean, they usually have some means. They have some resources, though albeit very slim, but they still have some. And they also don't have the weight of generations of this lack of resources. But you see it, and so I often struggle to articulate that because I guess I see it every day, and it's not that I turn a blind eye to it. It's like I see it and I know it, but I'm so in tune with it that I don't know how to, you know, it's like when you do something every day, even though it's like, you know, maybe it's like I had to plug my truck in every day, you know, because otherwise it won't start. So it's just something that you do every day, and you realize that it's not something that everybody else does, and that it is a detriment to you. It's not the best analogy, but but you know, how do you explain the impact that it has on you when you're so used to it? Or the impact that you see that it has on others when you're so used to it. Does that make sense?
Right. Especially when you're trying to explain it to somebody who has absolutely no fucking clue.
Right?
This show is not for kids.
Fuck no. Mm-mm. But I mean, it's just I struggle to explain it. I'm just not very articulate with it.
But
and I think important. Yeah, it is really important, and I am so glad that there are people there who can articulate it so much better than I can, and I can support them. And
right.
Yes, that.
Yes,
that's what I wanted to say.
Yes.
Thank you. You know,
from this white lady to all of you, that.
Right? I struggle with that too, because I'm like you. I want people to have their voice, and I don't want to be the one to speak for them. But gosh darn it, I'm going to stand right next to you when you say it.
Yes. What you're telling me about what you do and have been doing for so long that I just have never known. I I don't even know what to say. I've like known that you do this work and that it's been kind of a struggle, but you know, I haven't known the depth of you haven't told me the stories, and I'm not going to share the stories with everybody, but you know, like that is some really deep shit, for lack of a better term, because I've had a bunch of tequila.
3 parts tequila?
2 parts tequila. I'm not done yet.
Cider. I'm glad that I was able to share that part of me with you too.
Yeah, and I hope it's okay if I share part of that with everybody else.
Absolutely.
Because it's a big thing right now, and I feel like the more that we talk about these things, the better, you know? Like we need to talk about this.
Yeah. And I don't have any kind of answers. I mean, I got nothing.
But you have observations.
I have observations, and and I have real life experiences, and living in this, you know, working in this system that is very lopsided and very institutionally racist in so many ways. So, and like I said, it just kind of,
That's a big bummer. I mean, we're here to like hang out.
No, it wasn't bad though. I actually do enjoy talking about what I do, and especially when I can share like those stories or those clients that have really whose lives that I've changed.
Yeah.
You know, that just by being there and caring and listening to their stories, they've made different choices.
Right. Just by you hesitating to push the panic button.
Yes. For me, just feeling uncomfortable and maybe a little unsafe, but willing to lean into it a little bit.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.